Welcome to RECOM's Powerful Podcast, where we discuss new topics and products. I'm Jeff Deutschman, your product moderator. From a quarter watt up to 1,000 watts, whether the power is required for an industrial setting, a new IoT gadget, or a high-end medical-grade device, RECOM has you covered. In this episode, we'll be discussing a new AC to DC power supply, the RACM130E-K. Peter, what can you tell us about this supply?
Well, Jeff, this is an exciting and cost-competitive solution. It's an off-board AC-DC, which is going to fill a gap in our portfolio.
That's fantastic. So, what is the output power for this supply?
Yeah, so this part can support loads up to 100 watts continuously with natural convection.
All right. So where does the 130 come in?
Yeah, great question. The 130 represents the part's peak power as well as the power with forced air cooling.
Aha, that makes sense. So let's start with the forced air cooling. What are the requirements for that?
The customer will need a fan to provide a minimum airflow of 1 meter per second. With that, they can get up to 130 watts continuously. Now, this is also dependent on the mains input. So at 120 volts, it's 120 watts, whereas a 240 volt input will allow for the full 130 watts.
Okay. And without a fan, the part can go up to 130 watt in bursts?
Exactly. So if the load profile needs to briefly jump above 100 watts, this part is capable. In order to make this work, there needs to be recovery time, which allows the converter to cool down. This means the converter needs to run at a lower power for a certain period.
Okay, that makes sense. So how will our customers determine that recovery time and power?
Yeah, so there's a really nice guide, super simple on our data sheet on how to calculate that. And with that, we also factor in some safety to be extra sure the part isn't damaged.
Sounds easy enough. What kind of output voltages are available?
We got all the classics on this one. We have 12, 15, 24, and 36 volt options.
Excellent. It's a nice variety there. And what's the temperature range for this bad boy?
All the models start up at minus 40 degrees Celsius, and the max temperature varies by part number. For example, the 24 volt starts the rating at 50 degrees C, where the 12 volt starts at 30 C. And the other voltages fall somewhere in between those two.
Excellent. And I see there is both an open frame version and an enclosed version. Does that impact the temperature?
Yeah. So the specs I just listed are for the open frame model. However, this enclosure was designed to help the thermal specs. It allows for a higher temperature for many of the RACM130E models. And for most of our other enclosed AC to DCs, this enclosure is really just a safety feature to prevent accidental injury.
Yeah, cool beans. What about the certifications? What do we have on this supply?
Yeah, so this one is a jack of all trades and will carry certifications for medical, industrial, and household. That would be 60601, 62368, and 60335 respectively.
Outstanding. Let's wrap up by talking about the form factor. How big is this supply?
Well, it's extremely efficient, which allowed us to make it in a compact package. The open frame model is 90 by 50 millimeters and 32 millimeters tall, where the enclosed version is a little bit bigger at 118 by 63 millimeters, and the tallest point here is 56 millimeters.
That's a great power density there, Peter. As always, thanks, Peter. Great job. Well, that wraps up another month's Powerful Podcast. Please be sure to listen next month when we delve into the pros of another RECOM converter. As always, please contact your regional sales manager for any samples or pricing information. Ahmed and Peter are always happy to assist you with any technical questions or requests. Until then, have a great month, and always remember,
RECOM powers your products.